Today, something a bit different, a transmission, and not just any transmission, a CVT out of a 2014 Subaru Outback with only 108,000 miles on it. My buddy Artem called me up and said, I got some junk, some pallets, some parts, come pick it up. I just want it out of my way. And 2 transmissions were included in that junk. 2 of these CVTs. He said, you can scrap them, do whatever you want with them. Well, you know what I want to do? I want to make a video. I want to tear it down and find out what went wrong inside of these, and are they as fragile as the internet makes them out to be? Subaru offers an extended warranty program on these transmissions, up to 100,000 miles, depending on what year and what model Subaru it is. And this died at only 108,000 miles on it. 8,000 miles out of that period. My buddy Artem bought this car as is, so he did okay, but someone took a financial hit because of this failure, and that is really unfortunate. And I think as time goes on, as these cars start to mile out and age out, we're going to see a lot more of them scrapped because of the transmission. They're expensive. They're $1,500, $2,000 for a used one, and they're only getting more expensive and harder to find with reasonable miles. New ones are really expensive as well. It's not a tough job to replace them, but the acquisition of the part is going to kill a lot of these vehicles. And when I talk about CVTs, I understand my opinion is my opinion. I don't like them. I feel like disposable car parts are not the way. It's not green. It's not good for people's wallet. Someone's going to lose somewhere. I also don't like the way they drive. There's many of you that are going to chime in saying that they've put 300,000 miles on theirs. They've never changed the fluid. They've driven it in the ocean. It's been on Mars. I get it. There are outliers that do end up lasting and proving themselves to be reliable. And I also know that in the case of these transmissions, they did improve the fuel economy over the automatic transmission that these transmissions replaced. But if you go back to before Subaru made CVTs, how likely were the automatic transmissions to fail? Because I have never been asked for one ever. And if someone were to need one, they were $400 or $500 at best. So I know this may be a bit peculiar for this channel, but we're gonna actually start at the back of the transmission. I think that's how these things get torn down. And keep in mind, this is strictly for my and your entertainment. This transmission is scrap. It's going to be scrap. I'm not saving anything unless it looks cool and you guys want to buy it. I think it's drained. I feel like this is about to make a huge mess. It's fine. Oh, it's coming apart now, I think. Do I have to pull the... Looks like I might have a detent right here. Let's try that. Nope, that looks like just a fill plug. There's also something right here. We'll try that too. We're going to break this all the way down so we can scrap it for aluminum anyway. Oh, it's draining. So that's the drain. So that we have done nothing so far, and it's fine. Where's Blue? I bet he can get us out of this. Look at that. We have parts and stuff. There's a bearing there. I wonder how that comes out. I think we can get this further apart. The goal here is to get it all the way apart. We're not going to just dismantle it. Let's see if we can remove this hub here. This looks dangerous. It's fine. Whoa! That was scary. Did that help me? Oh, look at that. Was that going to slide out anyway? Did that do nothing? I don't know what just happened, but it's apart now. Nice roller bearing. I don't see any damage yet, but you know, we're not in the heart of this thing yet. This is more like the feet. But now that that's raw aluminum, that can be scrapped for clean cast. And I believe this is probably for reverse. All right, what's next? I guess I got to take this nut off. Looks like that's the parking pole. Does this just come out? I don't know if I'm supposed to do that, but I did it. Let's start zipping some more bolts out. more pieces and parts. Well, more stuff's coming off of it, but nothing crazy yet. Let's get that nut off. Now this nut is staked in 4 places, so we're gonna just ignore those and just zip it off. Did that help us? Do I need a press for this or a puller? I might need that stuff. Oh, hey, that fell out. That's kind of cool. Ooh, it's making some bad noises on the inside. When I say bad, I don't know if it's actually bad. Next, I'm going to move to this top plate here. There's only a few bolts left holding this in, and they're loose. This has been apart before. Oh, it's missing something. There was a valve body in here. She's gone. Okay, whatever. Well, I can't show you valve body because it's not here. We're going to move to the front and pull this little cover off. So there's a little dowel right there, and I think there's one right there. I have no real good way getting blue in here, so we're just going to try some stuff. That kind of worked. Okay, that's full of yuck fluid. It's fine. Let's get some pig mat on this. It'll be fine. All right, I got my pig mat placed underneath this thing. I don't think you can actually get all the fluid out of these without dismantling them. And I think even when you dismantle them, you can't get all the fluid out. What's behind this? Stuff and things. That's the pump. There's the chain that drives the pump. That's kind of a neat piece. I don't think this... Oh, that does come out. Oh, neat. Nice chain. With that bearing in there. Some nice machine work. Let's get that pump out of there. If it's that easy. It doesn't appear that it's that easy, guys. I wonder how much of a mess it's going to make when I tip this thing over. Should I tip this over? What's the worst that could happen? Don't answer that. And it's leaking. Here's one thing that I'd like to point out. The differential is here because these are all-wheel drive. And the fluid that's in this area is not the same fluid that's in the rest of this transmission. So if you're going to change the fluid on your CVT, don't mess with this unless you want to change your diff fluid too. There's more plugs in other places is my point. It's not a shared housing. Seems like the puddle of stink fluid is getting bigger. Can't believe that didn't work. Well, pan's off. Yuck, it smells worse somehow. Oh, there's the magnet. And it's covered in this metallic slime. That's not good. So here's what's on the magnet. You can definitely tell there's quite a bit of debris. And there's the filter, also some debris, but it's not totally clogged. Obviously, this stuff came from somewhere, and it's probably related to why it doesn't function. There's a nice little hue of the fluid. I wonder if it smells worse when they're bad or when they're not bad. And here's your shift selector. It looks like the range switch is disconnected, but this is how I can't move it. Yes, I can. So this is what puts it in park. Drive and reverse. There's the other end of that. Let's get the filter out. Filter is out. We're going to set that there in the pan. And we've got some more bolts to take out that probably won't help us. What does that do for us? Not a whole lot. Apparently that didn't either. I really want this part to come out, but it doesn't look like it can just yet. Well, I broke this or something happened like that. I'm just trying to get stuff apart. So it looks like I got a pin to hammer out. Yes. Let's get a punch. Is this going to work? I don't know. Am I going to do it? Yep. Can I have my punch back, please? There's a center pin that I got to knock out first. Let me get a thinner punch. This will give me a little further. This is very similar to how the Esprit axles are held on. There's a roll pin inside of a roll pin. We're just going to knock it all out together. It's going to be okay. We're moving now. We're almost out. There we are. Roll pin's out. I can take this shaft off, right? Stuff's happening. What is happening? So this should, in theory, I just gotta. All that to replace the shift shaft seal. Now, hopefully that's not a common failure point. I would doubt it is. Hey, we got parts coming out. We're doing stuff. 4 bolts. It's all one big, gigantic bell housing. All right, next, I'm gonna give this a couple slight taps. There is one bolt that's here that'll come out. It'll be fine. It's separating. Look at that. That bolt doesn't even need to be tight in there. All right. Can this come apart peacefully? Let's find out. When we're dropping stuff. Oh, the rear housing is almost off. I'm gonna go pour the rest of this stinky fluid in the waste oil bin. So here's what we've got left. Oh, it looks like this comes off. Or maybe not. That wants to come off. Oh, we got parts falling. Stuff's happening. Oh, hey, that plastic part came off. So here's the belt. You see when I turn this, it seems to turn okay. I mean, I don't see anything apparently wrong, but I also don't know exactly what I'm looking for. The belt's not broken. And then there's this thing. This is for churning butter or something. Yeah, it's fine. So now, taking this part apart. Yep. There's some bolts I could take out, and I think that's what we're going to do. It feels kind of gritty. Let's just start zipping some stuff apart. What did that do for us? Well, that part's loose. I don't know what that did. One thing I noticed is that that pin is no longer in this guide for the belt. Can I call this a chain? This is not a belt, it's a chain. It's metal. So that is not in there. I'm also going to have to remove this one to get to those bolts. I might break this. I don't think I can break this. Okay, so that just popped out of the pin. Can almost get on the bolts, just not quite. There, let's just, you know what, let's just put this back together. Actually, I'm just going to use a wrench, if I can. There's one. I bet you take this nut off, which again, I don't know if I have a size big enough for that. It's like a 40-something. Did that help me? Oh yes, it did help me. I think we're getting somewhere. All right, oh, that's out enough. All right, so now we got to figure out what holds this piece in. Look at that. We're moving, guys. I'm sure there's like a tool for this, and it's probably blue. All right, progress, I think. I don't think CVTs look like progress to me, but that's just me. Yes, 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 yes. So here's this assembly. This is the pin for that. I really don't know what to do to take this apart. We'll explore that a little bit later. Let's finish taking some more bolts out. Did that do anything? We didn't need that. What does this piece do? It's got a bunch of clutches in it. Oh, it's a planetary. Okay, that's kind of cool. That is probably the coolest piece I've pulled out of this. Planetaries are fascinating in their own way. That's a keeper. There is that the input shaft? Yeah, I think that's the input shaft, right? Yes, that's the input shaft. We're just pulling parts out. Now we got to pull this piece off. All right, this is actually, I think it's a E20. Did I get them all? Oh, the smell is getting worse. I didn't think that was going to be possible. Ugh. Smells like month-old tuna that just came out of the microwave when it was on fire. Let's get old Blue in here and see if we can do stuff. And we're down to the diff. Well, that's pretty swift. That makes some noise too. Okay, how does the diff? Oh, I see how the, wait, that doesn't, I think I see how the diff comes out. So the way the diff is held in looks like I need to spin these backwards. So this is how you set your preload on the bearings on the carrier. It also doesn't sound or feel good. That's just the cover. Well, this is, oh, that just leaves. Okay. It still doesn't sound good. Listen. So that's not good. But I think I can spin these backwards and they'll get loose enough. I might need to do both sides to where the bearings will come out, the races will come out, and I'll be able to pull that out. So we're going to just try this. It's not going to be pretty, but it's going to happen. All right, it's not getting tighter, so that's good. Now, normally there's something bolted right here, which locks this piece in and keeps it from spinning. I'm breaking it. I swear it's moving. Okay. And if I turn it on its side, it should kick the race out. I would think. I could be wrong. Come on now. See all that play in there? Come on. Do the things. All right, there's the bearing race. And I think this will rotate out of here. Oh, she's close, but it's just not going to happen. I got to get the other side out. That was fine. I wonder why that race is stuck. Must be in a bind. What if, I got an idea. I got a piece of 2 before which doesn't fit in there, so let me get a 1x. I'm going to use the diff to drive that race in theory. It did nothing. Not a thing. That race right there is somehow in a bind. I got a tool for this. Well, you guys thought I was going to get the loader? I mean, come on. I don't use that for everything. It's moving now. And we're out. That race is very much in a bind. Probably should have knocked it the other direction. Race is out. Now we have our case down to almost all aluminum. We still have this pump in here, and I don't know how to remove it. These bolts here? No. Yes. Well, that would explain it. No, we don't want to round that one out. Oh, it's loose now. You don't always have to get all the bolts out, but it helps. Oh, that's a unit right there. Oh, stuff's happening. This table's too small. I really don't know how this pump comes apart. That seemed to do some things. I don't know what things it did, but it did stuff. Look at that. There's the pump. Well, gear rotors seem to be in pretty good shape. We're going to get this stuff all cleaned up, and we'll take an overview. I got a couple more things I guess I could take apart. Now, I know there's some of you that want to see what the clutches look like out of this thing. So I just stuck this shaft in here, and I'm going to dangerously pry these out. It's fine. I'm just gonna look the other way. What's the worst that could happen? Don't answer that. It's fine. See, there's nothing to fear. There's our clutches. Actually look pretty good. I'll set those right here. There's our plate. Look at that spring. And then our drum. I'm going to go pour this out. And we'll do the same thing with this doohickey. Ooh, that one's a lot stronger. It's fine. Just don't look at it. There are those clutches. Bearing. Is that all that comes out of that? I think that's all that comes out of that one. We got one more here. We're just going to take the whole thing apart. Well, as much as we can. Okay, well, all of those are apart. This is the wildest spring ever. I could have gone without doing that. Unfortunately, I don't think I have a socket to fit on the end of these shafts to get this apart. That's a big one. I mean, I guess I could try to spin that off, but I feel like this bearing is probably pressed on, and it's not really going to help us. That's not going to stop me from trying, though. I've got my safety glasses on for this because it's not going to be pretty. Hey, is it working? I think it works. Did that help us? Yeah, see, I don't think that's going to help us here. I got the nut off. But I think I need a puller to get this apart. Oh, I think I can push these out and then the whole chain. Should I try that? I feel like that's dangerous. Let's try that. What's going to happen when this comes out? Oh, here we go. I'm glad that wasn't terribly violent, because that was violent. There's our, man, what a chain. The chain of chains. There's a lot of play in that direction, though. I don't know if that's normal or not. It's a shame it's not long enough to make a belt out of. I don't see any glaring problem, which is usually the case with these. I feel like these don't have that explosive nature of the engines we tear down on this channel. Well, my table is a mess, but let's take a look at some stuff. First, the chain. Pretty elaborate looking chain. Not that I've torn down a whole bunch of these things to know, but it didn't do what the Honda did, which was explode and sound like money falling from the sky, unfortunately. And then we have, I don't know exactly what they're called, but they're pulleys. And that chain rides up and down, and that determines the actual gear ratio. There's the other one. Then here are some of the clutches. Clutches look pretty good. Don't see any major issues there. More clutches. Most of this is for reverse and in and out of gear per se, not really between gears. That was a little dark. Not terrible. And so you can see some wear on that ring. Somewhere up there. Not awful. Inside of the drums, don't see any major issues. And these transmissions don't just fail in a way that keeps them from driving. They can make noise. I think that was the biggest issue that I have seen so far with this, is that it makes noise, and that was in the diff itself. And of course, this took a couple hits from me removing it with that race in a bind, but diff looks somewhat alright. There's a lot of interesting pieces you just don't see inside of engines. Here's the pump. A little bit of wear on the pump. That looks pretty familiar, doesn't it? There's definitely some wear there, but I don't think it would create a pressure problem. Here's the inside of the diff case. I'm not going to take that apart. That's going to go in breakage. It's the inside of this case. Overall, it's not bad. It doesn't have a smoking gun. It's not like this thing exploded. And of course, my favorite component, the planetary. This is like the ultimate fidget spinner. This was a ton of fun, and it was also a crime of opportunity. I don't go out and target this type of things. I don't really target drivetrain components to part out. I've done the occasional T56 or 6060 just to resell as a core, but for the most part, I don't go after transmissions because they're a lot more intensive to rebuild, repair, and in this case, these are disposable. These are one-time use. Yes, people do fix them, but there's no core value whatsoever. None of the core buyers buy them. The most they're worth is 25 to 30 bucks in scrap. In this case, I split it up a little bit, and now I'll get a little bit more out of scrap. And if there's anything cool out of it that you'd like to buy, you can do that as well. I'll sell anything you saw today, but it's not going to last long. That stuff piles up pretty quick around here. So, what do I think about CVTs after tearing this down? This was a lot simpler than the last one. I still don't like them. I don't like driving them. I don't like the reliability of them. However, there are some positive points of a CVT. For one, in some applications, they get better gas mileage because the engine is always in its efficient range. And I know it has infinite gear ratios and it can always make the most power, but they have a lot of drivetrain loss, and the overall mushy feeling of the driving experience is not really what I'm about. The other pros of a CVT are strictly for the manufacturer. These are much cheaper to produce. They are. They are cheaper because they don't get repaired. There's not as many components in them. They don't have a full gear set and clutches and shift forks and all that stuff. It's what you saw today. The other advantage to a CVT is that it's easier to control emissions on, which is one of the things that a lot of manufacturers struggle with. So I understand why they went this direction. And I'm not here to say that all CVTs are unreliable or bad. There's plenty of reliable ones. In fact, if you buy a Subaru with a 6-cylinder, you get the bigger CVT transmission, CVT, not transmission. If you get the bigger CVT, those seem to be pretty robust, and I haven't had anyone ask me for one. But if you have a 4-cylinder Subaru and you need a CVT transmission, my buddy Pete runs a Subaru specialty salvage yard. He has almost all of them in stock at all times. I'm going to leave his contact information in the video description. Really hope you enjoyed this oddity teardown. As always, I love all the comments, all the feedback, and even the criticism. I love it all, and I'll catch you on the next one.